In this video, I'm going to be explaining how to do yarn braid extensions. The benefit of using yarn instead of synthetic or real hair to do extensions is that yarn is very inexpensive and it's easy to find anywhere, and it's also a lot easier to work with than a bunch of small strands of hair. If you're wondering what the benefit of doing extensions in your little girl's hair is, Victoria enjoys having the extra long hair. That's longer than what her natural hair has grown to right now. And they take a long time to put in. You might want to make sure that you have a full day or maybe even 2 days you can break it up in to put them in, because they take a long time, but they should last a good 5 to 6 weeks. Some people have left them in longer. And also, they're very, very versatile. After her whole head is done, we've only done the back so far, but after her whole head is done, you can leave it down, you can put in a headband, you can put it all up into a ponytail, you can put it in pigtails or put that front half up, and all of that you can do very, very quickly every morning. You can do something different because it's all in individual braids, so there's no combing, there's no parting. It's all ready done, so you can throw it into a ponytail or something else very quickly. And instead of where the cornrows, they tend to have the same hairstyle for 3 or 4 weeks. When I put in cornrows, when I have the braids in like this, then we can do different things every day, and that's fun. Now, as far as the parting, like I said, the parting is already done for you if you plan out your parts ahead of time before you start braiding. So like I have done in other hairstyles, I start by splitting her head into 4 sections. I put one part from the forehead all the way to her neck. Can you turn your head, babe? So that's one long straight part from the forehead to the neck, and then another part from ear to ear. So that then when I want to put it into pigtails, I already will have a nice straight part and I don't even have to put much thought into it. And then the same if you just want to do something with the front and leave the back hanging down, you already have a nice straight part already put in there. So it's easier, and then you just work one section at a time as you're putting the braids in. Okay, so I've cut my yarn pretty extra long, because then I don't have to worry that I've got a piece that is too short. You're gonna cut it to whatever length, that you want your braids, and you could do them certainly much longer than this if you wanted to. And then this way I'll just cut off the extra when I'm done. But the length of it is about from this hand to maybe, well, not quite my 2 outstretched arms, but almost that long. And you're going to work with it folded in half. So this would be about the length of my braid, but I'll end my braid around here and cut the bottoms off, but this way I know that I'll have plenty of yarn. And for the parting, now I've started on this half of her head, and I've parted off my first row. It's a little less than an inch wide, and then then you part each square so that they're about 1 inch by 1 inch. And so I've put all the squares in here. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares from the front to the part in the back here. So I'm going to start with this one, and I always like to work with wet hair when I'm combing, because it keeps it from breaking as I comb it out. Okay, so now I've got that combed through. I'm going to use my gel, especially working plenty of gel into the ends, which will help keep the ends of the hair all tucked into the braids so they're not sticking out. Then I'm going to take my 2 pieces of yarn, which I have folded in half. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. I'm going to put them over the hair here. And then I'm going to cross them. And holding the hair in these back fingers on my left hand, and pinching the yarn in these 2 fingers, and then pulling the other yarn this direction with these fingers, I'm going to twist that yarn over the hair and then just start braiding. So I have 2 strands of yarn as one strand of the braid, another 2 strands of yarn as another strand, and then the hair as the 3rd strand of the braid. Now the way that you start off your braid might vary. I mean, this is the way that I do it because I braid underhand. If you braid overhanded, you might need to do it a little differently, or if you're left-handed instead of right-handed, you might need to do it a little differently. You can kind of try around with it, but this is the way I have found to do it to get it the most snug to the head. And you're going to keep going, braiding down, put your head up a little bit, until you get almost to the end of the real hair. And when you get there, so I've just got a tiny bit of hair left, I'm going to separate these 2 pieces of yarn and put one in with the hair and keep one separate. So now for my 3 strands of the braid, one is 1 piece of yarn, one is 2 pieces of yarn, and one is the 4th piece of yarn. And once you do that, the yarn sometimes gets a little tangled, so you got to kind of separate it as you're going down. Now there's a lot of options for how to end the braids at the bottom. I know a lot of people use either a lighter or a candle to burn the ends. I haven't quite figured out how to do that without burning my fingers. So I'm not doing that. And you could also just put a snap on the end. That's what I did last time that I did this. Or you can put beads and use rubber bands just like you would on regular box braids, how I usually do it. But I don't like to add a lot of beads to this hairstyle because I like it to just kind of look like natural hair without a lot of extra stuff added to it. So I have just tied them off and then cut the extra yarn off underneath the knot. I want to make sure that my length is even with the length of the rest of my braids. Vic, can you sit up straight? Put your head up straight, honey. So that's about even there. So I'm just going to tie a knot. And after I have the whole side of her head done, and I kind of measure them to see if they're all the same length, then I'll cut the bottoms off. But I'm going to leave them for now in case I need to adjust the length on some of them. Okay, we're going to do this again from a slightly different angle just to try and make sure that we've gotten it good here so you can see what we're doing. So I've folded my yarn in half, put it over top of my box of hair, and pulling the hair up tight, crossing this piece of yarn over the other piece of yarn, and putting that into my fingers there. So now I've got yarn in the center, hair over here and hair over here, and I'm going to switch those and start my underhanded braid.